I saw Greg Wells speak a few years ago, and ever since he's been one of my favorite mixers. But he's not just mine, he's put a ton of hit records out with a bunch of A-list artists, and he's even had his own Mixbus plugin made with Waves called Mixcentric. But this video is going to go even deeper. I've studied Greg Wells and particularly what he does on his famous Mixbus, and I'm going to show you in this video what I've learned. And make sure you stay until the end because I'm going to tell you something that he told that small group of us a few years ago that has stuck with me ever since and made me much better at producing and mixing. Now, of course, not every Greg Wells Mixbus is the same for each song, but I have seen some of his work and he tends to use the similar concept, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. The first of which is going to be a little bit of light compression. And one compressor that I've seen him like is this FG Red, which is basically just an emulation of the original Red Focusrite compressor. And this is just the Slate Digital plugin version of it. The idea here is to use this compressor just to ride the top of the mix and make the mix all a little bit more cohesive. In this song, this is a song called Salt and Pepper by John Muirhead that I mix, and I have everything going to the Mixbus, and this compressor goes on the Mixbus. It has a bit of a slower attack and a bit of a faster release, and what this does is with the attack lets the transients still come through in the song, it doesn't suffocate those transients, and the release just allows it to move along with the song and act naturally and not get stuck, you know, in the valleys of the compression. That's the whole idea here, and these settings are pretty common with a lot of Mixbus compression that engineers like to use. And let's hear how this sounds. I'll start with a bypass and then we can apply a little bit of this compression to ride the top of the mix and glue things together.
Yard sale, see what you can get. Your salt and pepper memories, black and white regrets.
And let's apply the compression. Keep in mind, compressing's making it quieter, so it might sound a little quieter.
Yard sale, see what you can get. Your salt and pepper memories, black and white regrets. All you thought could last.
We can tweak that threshold for more.
Yard sale, see what you can get. Your salt and pepper.
That's too much, of course.
Yard sale, see what you can get. Your salt and pepper memories, black and white regrets. All you thought could last forever hasn't lasted.
That feels perfect right there. I might even mix it in a little bit less with this mix.
Yard sale, see what you can get. Your salt and pepper memories, black and white regrets. All you thought could last forever hasn't lasted.
So you kind of just do this really light compression. It's a low ratio. Bring in the threshold and just ride the top of the mix with it. And this will help glue the mix together. Now, the next tool that I've seen Greg Wells use and talk about and that he loves is this linear phase multiband, which is just a multiband compressor from Waves. And he tends to like this multi-electro mastering preset. And what's really cool about this electro setting, this electro mode, is that when it is doing more compression with more gain reduction, it has a bit of a slower release time, but as it's doing less compression, that gets a faster release time. So the release time literally changes. And this is what actually helps minimize distortion and help get a really optimal, consistent level across the song. And this tends to sound really good, especially on dense production. So think of a lot of Greg Wells songs. He's such a great producer in any genre, but I'm thinking especially of this big, wide open rock production type of sound. And also think of like the jam-packed Greatest Showman soundtrack. There's a lot going on in those. And so this multiband compression is just going to be that great moderate compression to not only make the mix more consistent, but help manage that density of those big songs. So the idea here is to start with that electro mastering preset, tweak it, and then set it to where it's not doing a whole ton, similar to the first compressor, just riding the top of the mix, but now doing it in a multiband way.
Yard sale, see what you can get. Your salt and pepper memories, black and white regrets. All you thought could last forever hasn't lasted yet. You're selling all your memories. Yard sale, see what you can get. Your salt and pepper memories, black and white regrets.
All right, so that's just breathing with the mix now and doing what it's supposed to do. And so already with just that compression and a little bit of multiband compression, that has done some wonders for the Mixbus to bring this mix to life just that little extra bit. At the time I heard Greg Wells speak, he talked about his Mixbus, and some of the gear he was into at that time included the Neve 33609 compressor and also the Studer tape. Of course, there's going to be a combination of all sorts of different things that a mixer will use on their Mixbus over their career, but these are some of the classic Greg Wells tools. And if you don't feel like doing the testing of all these tools, Greg Wells does have a plugin called Mixcentric, and that's basically where he's put all of his, magic juice into one single plugin. I haven't personally used it. I've used his tone-centric plugin, and that's cool. If you wanted to look into this and his mixes are something you're a fan of, that's something you could have a look at as well. And since you stuck around to the end, I want to tell you about the one thing that Greg Wells said when I saw him speak a few years ago that really stuck with me. And the thing he said was that failure is the best teacher. Success won't teach you a thing. So if you're trying out some plugins and it doesn't sound good right away, you have to do the trial and error of it. You have to play around. You have to figure out what works for you. So go try these things out, see what works for you. Success doesn't teach you, it's failure and trying again that does. And if you enjoyed this video and want more, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because if you don't, I might never see you again, and that would break my heart. And one more gift, because you stayed till the end, I want to give you my home mixing cheat sheet absolutely for free. The link will be in the description, and what this is are common settings for compression, EQ, even possible effects for all sorts of instruments, anything in a mix, vocals. It's all there in that cheat sheet. It's going to give you a starting point so you can stop doing the guessing game and start getting the results you want right away, or at least closer to them, because remember, you got to try things out on your own to get the results you're looking for too. Remember, if you can hear it in here, it can be heard out there by everyone else. And I'm here at Audio Edges to help you get there quicker. I'll see you in the next one.